beer? And he goes, I never thought about it that way. He goes, I guess so. And I go, so if I thought about something really, really big, like the Titanic, then I would have a lot more mass. He's like, I'm going to have to ask somebody about that. That's really interesting. That was the thing that was surprising to me was that, I mean, very friendly, these people, the ones I've talked to, were very, very friendly, but it was very much a not question this handed to them and say, don't question this works, and there's all this social proof and social bombing you'd see, you know, some guy pass some level, they'd be like, they'd give him like applause and all this, and this guy's, you know, he works as a bagger at a grocery store, and this is probably the best thing that's going to happen to him all month or all year, and so I'm sympathetic to those people and seeing how they get out of it. Sad to see how much they get taken away from them.
What did I walk in on? By the way, somebody when I tweeted out
Are you
that
not live streaming?
I tweeted a picture, so yeah, we're loving the. I wanted to.
Well, we don't want to go on record with the
what?
The S word.
Scientology? I mean, you guys were talking about it. I just walked in.
I know.
But I do want to hear some more awesome ghost stories. So far, we talked about the Black Death.
Are we live streaming right now?
Yeah.
Okay,
This is the perfect environment because it's like we're actually hanging out here by the campfire telling ghost stories with Andrew Main.
So I told that skeptics group, I thought you had a little bit of a weird recruitment method.
That skeptics, the S word is what it is.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Well, on that note, I'm out.
Oh,
You don't have another good story like the.
I have one if you want to hear it.
Can we hear it?
I can, you know what? I'll do one actually in character.
I'm going to use the restroom.
Oh, this is great. No, this will be great. Have a seat.
All right, this is actually an old joke, but I'll do it as the character I play.
And this is, for those of you guys who don't know, this is Jonathan Strickland.
So the character I play is the Lord Admiral.
Oh, that's quite the title.
Yeah. Well, you have to do these things when you work at a Renaissance festival. All right, so I recently visited my brother Richard and his lovely wife. When I was visiting Richard at his estate, he has a very large estate. He and his wife were expecting the arrival of their first child, and I arrived at his estate just as Richard was going to do a tour of his estate and assess everything that was on his estate. So he had left, and he left me in charge of the house, for I am his younger brother, and as I sat there in charge of the house, of course, happened, but his lovely wife goes into labor. So I did exactly what I was supposed to do, which is I summoned the midwife and I stayed way the hell away from her. And the shrieking and the crying. But eventually, his wife delivered 2 beautiful children, twins, a boy and a girl. Later on that evening, there was a knock at the door, and I answered the door, and there was an assessor with the Doomsday Book, which is, of course, where they write down all the names and all the figures for everyone in the kingdom. And they asked me who lived here. I said, well, my brother Richard lives here with his wife, and of course, their 2 lovely children. And the man asked me, well, give me their names. I said, well, I cannot give the names of the children, for my brother is not here. He has not yet named the children, and it was insensible after a very long and difficult labor. The man said, well, I must write down the names, and I will not be back this way again for another 6 months, so you must tell me the names. So I had no choice but to name the children. A few days later, my brother returns, and he's overjoyed to discover that he is now the proud father of both a lad and a lovely young lady, and not as pleased to discover that he is not the one to name these children. And he brings me aside. You've never been the most brilliant of brothers, never the most witty. Pray, what did you name my lovely daughter? And I said, well, Richard, I named her Denise. So, it's quite a lovely name, really. All right, not so bad. What did you name my son? You?
Well played, sir. Congratulations.
And with that,
Good night, Jonathan.
Good night.
Hey, what time is the stuff you should know thing tomorrow?
11 a.m. Driscoll Hotel, Driscoll Ballroom.
All right, I think I can get up by 11 a.m. Maybe.
That's
Sounds like crazy talk.
That's right. Yeah.
I got a story.
All right, let's hear it.
Somebody else has a story?
No. Look, you've got all the best. Great.
Well, okay.
This is weird. This is weird things live around the campfire. Is what this is. It's
So-
a cappella.
And some of the people out there you may remember what Project Paperclip was. Do you know what Project was?
Wait.
So the guys trying to get a house with just a red paper.
With the red paper clip. Yeah. Well played,
They're
sir.
not helping the story.
No, actually, it sounds familiar. I think I heard it at some point. I don't remember what it is.
We talked a little bit earlier about one of the scary things about World War II was how you had German and Japanese scientists doing horrific. Many of these experiments were not really scientifically literate, but some of them were. At the end of World War II, there was a rule that was basically people who helped the program knowingly were supposed to be tried. But we did a thing in America called Project Paperclip because there were a number of scientists, rocket scientists, and nuclears, people capable of atomic science, that we bring over. And in order to do that, we basically had to say they were not Nazis. And so Project Paperclip...
Is this going to end with the birth of Clippy?
Yeah, Clippy from the Microsoft.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
No, but that's how like
Yeah, continue. Yeah, it's fine.
Would you like to? It looks like you're trying to inflame the globe in wool.
no, but this is how we brought over like what was the rocket scientist?
Werner von Braun.
Yeah, von Braun. That's who I'm trying to think of.
All right. So, anyhow, Project Paperclip, that's what it was. It's a way for us to bring over a number of German scientists. The Russians grabbed as many as they could to help start their program, their rocketry program. As part of it, they got a guy into space before we did. So there was the two big areas of research were nuclear, as Justin and I would say, and there was rocketry. There was a third area that doesn't get as much attention, and that was some of the biggest experiments that were being done both by Japanese scientists and German scientists were into human experimentation. And there is a story that there was a third group of scientists brought over, and these were scientists who were trying to give humans enhanced abilities. And the idea was there was different things. Remember the Lebensborn project where they tried to breed blonde hair?
Yes,
Okay.
with the eugenics. Hold on, a bunch of people are asking me to go to high res, so if you don't mind, hold on 1 second. It'll be way better.
All right. So here you have the end of World War II, and both the Russian government, the Soviets, and the United States are bringing over scientists, principally for the atomic program and for rocketry. The third thing is human experimentation. And we know about the German projects that were being done. We're just finding out still about some of the projects our own government's done. Some of them are apocryphal, but some things are very genuine. And one of the things that some of the Germans were curious about doing in other countries, including the Russians, was can you try to... We didn't have a very good idea of what DNA was. That was discovered in 1950, but we knew that certain traits could be inherited. Perhaps you could take serums or blood or parts of things. You can take testosterone from another animal and inject in a human, and you get muscularity and stuff. And so you don't just have to have genetic information.
Because that's what we do with insulin. We use bovine.
Exactly. We're finding out now that a lot of information isn't just in the DNA; it's around it. And so there was experimentations to try and crossbreed humans with animals, which of course we think is sort of ridiculous, but one of the things that's happened was, you know that you can breed, a horse and a donkey and other things. There actually were attempts. Ligers, exactly. There were attempts to try to breed, allegedly, humans with chimpanzees. Okay, now there's a chromosomal difference which can cause a problem, but you do get some humans who have a chromosomal mismatch with other people. And the story was they actually had a program that was successful, and because they identified people who had some sort of weird genetic makeup, mothers, and they were able to impregnate with simian genetic information.
Like artificial insemination?
Artificial, we hope. Artificial.
No. Well, simian semen.
The story was there was actually a research laboratory that was doing this up until the 60s and actually in the 1970s, late 70s, and they had, because it was so off the book, and go through peer review, but there was claims that there was success, that they actually were able to successfully do this. The problem is that the offspring looked extremely human.
Oh my God! Really?
So the debate was, were these really crossbreeds between humans, or was it, humans monkeying around with others? And so that was the debate was happened. But basically, what the story was, the program got shut down.
Now this is a United States program.
This was a United States program.
Because I always heard about this kind of story with early Soviet era.
Well, this was apparently an American program. There was a period in the 70s, and they got very embarrassed by the stuff, and they shut down a lot of these proceedings. And so the story was they were successful. There was one of these crossbreeds that actually were delivered, were born, they looked human, and there were children from this. That is the
That
story.
explains my in-laws.
Well,
That's
you know what else?
like, what did they do with these?
Well, now I can imagine, if I could play skeptic for a moment, I can imagine a scenario where, let's say it's a totally legit program and they really are inseminating stuff. But meanwhile, this is an era before the sexual realm, before contraception, and it's like, let's say somebody's living life and she goes out and she gets knocked up. What are you gonna say? Are you like, oh no, I screwed up your eggs. I had sex with the shop boy.
Reportedly from the sources, there was blood tests that was done that implied success. You had a question, Brett?
You just stopped the story at the wrong point. What did
With the little 8
the
babies.
little lookalike children?
Boo!
Papers are all going, what the hell?
The hardest part about that story is you're waiting for somebody to go, what happened to the 8 babies? And so you're just waiting and waiting and waiting.
The funniest part is I've heard Andrew tell the story like 3 more times, and like through the first part, and every time I've heard it, like subsequent to know that like the punchline is, like I went through, I'm like, wow, this is some interesting shit. I didn't know about it. Like, oh, they made something like, oh, wait a minute.
The first time I ever told that story was actually, I had my girlfriend in bed with me, and late at night, I'm telling her stories.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Did you expect us to believe this?
I was telling her stories. Okay? That was the only thing I was able to get to. Okay? I was telling her stories, and I was later telling her stories. That's what I do. And we're in bed, and I'm story, and she goes, "What happened to the baby apes?" And I jump out of the bed. I throw it. I'm like bounce on the bed, going.
And how are y'all doing now?
Apparently, pretty well. I don't know.
She married somebody else. But it was funny when I first started telling that story. At the time, I just made up that the Project Paperclip was real, and that was true about the atomic scientists and the rocket scientists. And I always wondered what happened to the other stuff.
Yeah.
But since then, we have found out there actually was some stupid Russian project to really do that.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
So how does the 8 baby sound in Russian?
have you seen some of those gymnasts? Well, we have like you look at how big the Olympics has become, and sort of this thing like China, basically engineering athletes to compete in that. At what limit?
And they be super cute.
And,
What is it?
yeah,
the
well,
cuteness factor?
but I mean, maybe they'd make it. I mean, think about that though. Is like if you could actually start taking, like the muscularity in Z's is way different than us, and they have much more pound for pound, much more stronger muscles than we do. I'm like, man, I mean, we're at a point where we can start using genetic engineering to start putting that into people. And are you going to have to, the big deal in the last year was doing genetic testing to find out if it's a man or a woman who's running this race. Now it's going to be like, how much human DNA do you versus animal?
I just
But you've
wish
seen-
I could get enough monkey DNA to be able to open my own beer bottles for once. It'd be awesome for a jail.
You like have seen those photos of the genetically engineered bovines that are just like fucking ripped. I mean, how crazy is that shit?
That can happen too from cloning. Because when some of the early attempts to do cloning is we thought all the information was just in the DNA. And it turns out there's a lot of information and proteins on the surface, it's called mylation. And if you don't get that right, things don't stop. They'll tell you where to stop reproducing a certain protein or something like that. And so that's why there's issues where you've had these animals that get really strange features of their clones. Their DNA is equal, it's the same, but the mylation that told it early on where to stop.
All right, so let me ask you sincerely, for all our talk, and I know technically we're live streaming, but this is sort of we're just bullshitting by the fire. We're gonna bet. Are you for reals thinking singularity? You're gonna live on as a brain in a vat?
Me personally, in a vat?
Yeah.
I don't want to live in a vat.
Well, I mean, or a robot or whatever.
I think that these things happen in subtle ways. In that, right now we're talking to a lot of people through a mirror, and that is, if we were to sit back and look, how would Marshall McLuhan look at this technology? How would we look at how we're already extending that? How would he look at how you use computer technology to do stuff? And look at how long can you get by without your iPhone?
I mean, I could get by without it forever, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
you could, but it's a easy choice for you to make.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, it's like, I'm not kidding. When I call it a prosthetic brain, I mean, that's seriously what I think. It's like, I feel dumber when I don't have my iPhone on me.
I think, like, even, like, you know, there's certain technologies that now, like, so color our everyday lives, where it's like, it's hard to think that, you know, 7 years ago, you know, even like 5 years ago, you know, just let's take away YouTube and iPhones. Mm-hmm. Like, let's just, I mean, like, for let's say, I mean, obviously we live digitally focused, you know, kind of lives, but that's, I mean, it's a large restructuring that now is just accomplished.
I was just real quick. Let me get a question, Brian, because think about this. We see things come at us in a sort of a soft edge. Let's say that every year when you went in to get a checkup, they made a full body scan, and this scan was actually able to measure the neurons in your brain. Okay?
Yeah,
that's far off. Everybody understands that's a far off thing, but actually, brain mapping, brain imaging doubles every 18 months are fast Moore's law. Okay?
Right.
So every year you got a full body scan to see how your body is, and they kept a record of that scan. Let's say you decided to do some really crazy, weird NSFW stunt involving a motorcycle in Snake Canyon, okay, and half of your brain was caved in. Clinically, you're dead. You're dead on the table.
Right.
Okay? But they can. Glad you could find it.
Dude, it was the Sky 5. I told you, we had to take Sky 5 to the next level. Come on.
Sky 5 next level, okay? Your body's on the table. Your brain is mash. Your brain is jelly, okay? And they go to Bonnie and they say, listen, we've got a full map. We've got a pretty good idea where everything goes. We can use most of the original tissue to put it back into place. Mm-hmm. What do you say?
Well, he's been doing that brick on the head for years. I'm sure.
You're like, the real Brian's been dead for years.
So the real first thing he said is, we got to take Sky 5 to the next level.
And she's like, shut it down! Shut him down!
That's just it. If you had a stroke, part of your brain was damaged, but we could go in and repair it and replace it with this copy that we made before. Okay, and and again, this is not a thing we have now, so it's not like impossible, but that is a question that may happen. And then the answer for most people would be yes, of course, do that. You know, I damaged 17% of my brain. Let's go follow this map and rebuild it. You get to where you're like, well, 17% is okay, 18%. We're already talking about brain pacemakers, which replace a function of the brain. That's a thing that's being tested to be able to do.
Yeah, like instance, right?
Yeah, and so you get to this point where we're already offsetting the sum of this. When do we say, okay, now we've gone too far?
Okay, so Chad and I got like in a serious argument. It was this argument, but like we seriously had a fundamental disagreement about like the nature of theoretical transporters, right? So the idea is that you have molecules that are broken down into energy. The energy is sent as a signal, and it's reassembled into molecules and creates a perfect copy of whatever was left from point A. And Chad's claim was, unless it was the same physical molecules, like he didn't mind the idea of his molecules being broken apart and then put back together. He couldn't handle the idea that his molecules were being broken apart and some not the same molecules were being assembled into a perfect copy over there. Like for him, that was like he would never use the transporter. What do you guys say? Would you get in that machine?
I'm with Chad, and I'll tell you why.
All right.
Okay, the whole thing I brought up about surface on DNA. This was an idea. This is a thing weren't really even thinking about 20 years ago. We thought DNA is it. This is the way it is. You take this apart. There you go. We're now looking into how quantum effects play in biology. Certain biological functions, photosynthesis, maybe in the sense of smell, use quantum effects. And until we know enough about a system may function right and may look perfect and all that, I don't know. There's that little bit of doubt. And since I think all these
we're not talking about you being the first guy to do this.
Right.
We're talking about whether...
We're saying everybody in society does it.
I understand, the millionth person to go do it and comes through fine, for me there'd be that little nagging doubt because of what we don't know. And I can think of so many better ways to do this.
I'm going to say that whatever nagging doubt you have will be so vastly overshadowed by social pressure. Like, I mean, it would be akin to you refusing to fly nowadays.
But here's Brian, in my vision of the future, what I would do is I'd say, listen, here's what I want to do. Go make the copy of me over there, keep this copy here, let him go have fun, and then when we're done, reintegrate the memories.
Well, you can't just make that technology up, though.
You can make up your technology.
This is your problem about asking Andrew this kind of hypothetical, because Andrew's not going to say, like, all right, there's this and this, and I'll make the decisions. Like, he's got better ideas, and believe you me, I've heard them. Like, and they are better, like, you know.
Well, but the flying example is a really good example because it is the same thing. You have a nagging feeling about flying if there's still that tiny chance that something could go
Well,
wrong.
I
I mean,
mean-
let's say you're in a giant
But-
airplane, you're talking about
Fine is
air and lift and
but
drag.
I can use 19th century physics to understand that. Okay, what I'm saying is that there's enough doubt right now. There are areas.
But you're using 19th century physics and go wrong. Like
Yeah,
stuff can
no,
go wrong
but
there.
probability. What I'm talking about is like there are these areas now that we look at, like the whole thing. The surface myelination in DNA was a thing. I go, wow, that's a thing we didn't think about. And now with quantum effects in certain biological systems, to say that like in the brain, I used to think it was crazy. There was a Roger Penrose, mathematician, talked about this crazy idea about how this comes from quantum tunneling in the brain. I thought it was a really absurd idea because you don't need it to explain things, but biology uses whatever it works. It doesn't care if it's a crazy or weird idea if it works. I would say that maybe 10 years from now, I might have a better understanding and say, yeah, sure, I can see how that is. But as far as the actual why, and my point is like, why destroy this matter? Let me make a copy over there, go do it, keep it synced up.
Okay, so let's just go back to the hypothetical where that's what works, period. It works, and that is what works. Do you have a problem with a different set of molecules? Is that still you? Do you feel like that's you over there?
I would. Here's an experiment. This is at least a mind experiment I used to use, which was this, and to argue for you, which was, if I'd be uncomfortable if you were replacing my brain immediately with same pattern but different atoms. But if you ask me, what if I let you do 5 per night? Okay, over a period of 20 nights. I know the math doesn't add up, but every once, for 20 days, 5%, and you let me migrate into that system, and whatever I think my consciousness then becomes, I'd be more comfortable with that because it's not one point where new Andrew turns off, old Andrew shuts down. Okay, it would be this my consciousness gets,
Well,
from
in a
one.
sense,
Okay,
aren't you
well,
already
well,
doing
well,
that?
We do.
That's okay,
we do,
but that's
absolutely.
Yeah,
that's what I was. That was my point. That was a point of argument between me and Chad. I was like, well, why won't you get in the machine? It's going to be exactly the exact copy. You're going to have the exact same mental everything. It is in every way an exact copy of you. Nothing different by definition. Of course, this is a thought experiment, so you have certain leeway to do that. Whereas he's like, well, because it won't be me, I'll be different. But it's like by definition, everything will be the same. That's not what happens. Of course, every molecule in our body. Ooh, spooky. Every molecule in our body gets replaced. What the urban legend is every 7 years or whatever, right? I say that that a bigger change is every night you go to bed, one person, and over the course of sleep, dream experiences that change your personality ever so slightly. You definitely replace molecules in your body with other molecules. So I would say that the sleeping is a bigger transformation. You are less of who you are in the morning when you wake up than you would be in the experiment, even though every molecule will be changed. By definition, everything else will be the same.
I absolutely, that was the sort of thing that kind of helped me understand, ideas about mortality was the idea of how our consciousness is constantly being rebooted. And then I absolutely hear it. My hesitation, again, I was a guy that answered emphatically, oh, yeah, absolutely, I would do it. But then when I became aware of, wow, these other systems here that we don't quite know, and also, as we know, in our understanding of physics, you can't make a perfect copy. You cannot make a perfect copy because, once you know one thing, you've changed that system. And so the act of making that copy in itself, which I would like to sell you all on, is the idea of, hibernate this version of it, let me go out and travel wherever I need to go do and do that, and have a backup just in case. Worst case scenario, something gets destroyed, pop me out of the machine, let me keep my original bit so I can always have
that's one thing I never understood on the Star Trek thing. It's like, if you got something that's people, why was all of Star Trek world not just maggoty with copies of everyone?
Right.
Because it seems like
the way they did it, though, was that they had an episode where they were actually in the transporter and they were still conscious. So they made it so it wasn't actually destroying your old body and building a new copy. They were kind of like compressing it and reforming it, but you were still conscious the whole time.
I have an article in Weird Things about matter. I have an article in Weird Things about matters, by the way. And so you could take your matter and we could transport it at near the speed of light to wherever we want to. Of course, it might be the molecule might make up the molecules in your brain and vice versa.
Okay. I don't know why you went there.
What's new about that?
Okay, thank you, Bon. Zing.
But there is this weird. There's a whole new branch of physics that in the next 20 years that's going to fundamentally change the way we look at everything and how we do stuff. Much like how lasers have become commonplace. Probably most of us have one form of it in our pocket or something to do something. And as we start getting into versions of physics that allow us to be like matter lasers and matter becomes handled like bits, then things get even increasingly strange and weird. And then we're going to have a whole new set of ideas. we still look at things from a 19th century perspective.
So I'm still having trouble wrapping my brain around why you think it's better to migrate your consciousness, because that really sounds terrifying to me, especially after the Prestige, where I would be terrified of being trapped in the middle there somewhere, whereas the on and off seems ideal, because even if it's a perma off on both sides, I don't know the difference.
Well, I understand your point. That's certainly a pain avoidance sort of reason. Mine is the idea that if I accept the idea that consciousness is this river, and that as my brain makes new matter, new atoms, and continues to move on, I'm okay with that. I accept that. That's what life works. And so if I want to move that through some sort of digital medium too and go that way, I'm okay with it. This abrupt, create a copy here, destroy the original copy. I mean, how do we destroy the original copy? Do I go into an incinerator? You know, do you make me suffer when I do this because you say I'm the new copies over there? I mean, what happens to that, Brian? I mean,
it really brings a whole new term to like the new baby complex, right?
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, I want to go to Spain. Well, we have to.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, Brian, that's my question. So let's say for this teleportation thing to work,
yeah, you're gonna be
you
fucking
have to,
sipping sangria. While we're gonna
for this teleportation to work, you have to step into a machine, okay? And it's going to make a copy of you at the other end. Now, as it makes this copy, it's extremely painful. It's like being burned to death, but when you get to the other end, you have no memory of the last 5 minutes.
You know what? I tell you that would never fly because, like...
I'm with you.
Just having...
We're really
like,
slowly outlining the plot.
Like, they want to keep their fingernail clippings and stuff.
Yeah.
It's been a part of them. So, and we don't get rid of our hair after his haircut.
I was
right.
You know? I mean, who wants to get rid of their
Well,
actual
according to
body?
Brian, Brian's okay with that.
I said don't double words in my mouth. I'm better at poking other people than actually saying what I would do.
I know.
All right, so here's the thing, which is less cruel. All right, so here's the you can either create an institution where every time the machine is used, the machine cannot transport. It can only make a duplicate of you somewhere else. And that goes both ways. So you send over there, and then it's coming back. So there's just copies and copies and copies. So every time the machine's used, you never clean up your mess, and there's just another duplicate of you.
Right.
Or a version where we all do this wink, wink, and then, no, you're being transported because you're gone here, and then you're there. And subjectively, that's what the experience is.
Have a connection that connects that body back to your one here, or it's got a very, very good synthetic replication of your intelligence and everything like that, a disposable version, goes around, does all the stuff that you want to go do, and then when it's time, it goes back into the wall, dissolves back into the wall, all that information comes back, and your brain is reset, information added on to it as if you had that experience. You either use telemetry to control it, or which is the easiest way. And I think that's what we're going to see. I think that's what we're going to come into is we're going to use telemetry, and we're going to create very, very lifelike robotic bodies to go out and go do stuff and to travel if we don't actually want to physically go there. And then from there, we're going to get so accustomed to those that the idea, I'll go project my body over here and go do stuff, send it back in and do that. Maybe sometimes do multiple copies to get stuff done, but you have the idea of reintegration is going to be the key thing.
Well, so to me, the question that we were discussing of destroying one body to go to another, there was I want to say it was in the Timothy Zahn books, the Heritage Conquerors trilogy. I can't remember what it's called, but essentially they essentially have warp technology. At some point in the middle of a theoretical discussion, somebody points out, it's like, well, you realize that warp technology as we're doing is impossible. Like, what do you mean it's technically impossible? It's like we go and then we arrive, and subjectively we're in the same universe, but that's not possible. What we're actually doing is arriving in so infinitesimally different that it's as though we might as well be in the same universe. And so it's like, knowing that, it's like that was kind of an as well. Like, would you use warp drive knowing that technically you're in a totally different universe?
That's the same way that Michael Crichton designed time travel in Timeline.
There is a credible argument to be made. Credible because we don't have enough science to say that it's not true.
Credible because somebody.
If you one of the theories of in quantum physics is the multi-worlds theory, that every time something can happen, it actually happens in both universes and it branches off. some basic level in our brain, when we're having this conversation, one little electron making a little jump is happening and making us go in one direction as opposed to another. We're not the same people that started this conversation, and so everybody here,
you've changed me.
There's a different Brian. There's a different Brian. I'm talking to a different Brian.
Slightly less of an asshole.
But I'm saying, like, the Brian I started this conversation with, I'm following my one little path through here, and along the way, you guys have all branded into different roles, and so that's happening right now in one view.
I mean, that's what always kind of screwed me up about, like, even the time travel stories. I pull my face apart.
It's old man Jenkins from the amusement park.
Meddling kids, meddling chat room.
The other thing is, like, even like with like Back to the Future or whatever, when I was watching it as a kid, like the thing that always kind of bothered me is like, you know, like the Doc Brown and Back to the Future too. It's like, does he just live his entire life where like things go crazy and this one moment, you know, where Marty comes back and he helps him go back, and then like he just lives the rest of his life in the worst possible version of this society? That it would just kind of bother me that, you know, they're going to these different timelines. And
shit, yeah, no, the Doc Brown in Hell Valley.
Yeah,
that's not the same Doc Brown.
Well, theoretically, yeah, it's not like once
because Doc Brown doesn't go with them.
It's not like once Marty changes the future, all of a sudden it's like soft dissolve, and now all the streets are clean.
Back to the Future, though.
Yeah.
Well, no,
like I misread the movie itself. Like when you said that, I'm like, no, but Doc Brown like went with Marty, didn't he? Isn't that why he? And then I was just like,
Well, the whole thing's kind of fuzzy. Doc Brown was committed, but yet he's not in the mental hospital. He's there helping Marty.
Right, no, but which Doc Brown? Is it the Doc Brown for the future that comes back with Marty?
I guess it's just, well, from Marty's perspective, it is.
Man, now it's getting deep. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad we we hit Justin's level here.
Marty goes, yes, big retards. Yes. Marty goes to a different version of.
He's in a different universe.
Timeline. So it's like,
good to him.
But he leaves one timeline. Like that timeline, it remains where it was.
I want to interject here. I actually am an expert in future physics because I had the same. I had the same questions Justin had, because remember when he left in the second one, he left his girlfriend on the angry black
porch.
Man's doorstep.
Yeah.
You know? Yes. And then they're like, and they left
I didn't
like
know he was black.
What's that?
I didn't know he was black.
Because they ran into the daughter.
Yeah, because the girls are like, "There's a
Marty's house."
Left him in that alternate timeline, and Doc Brown explained because the timeline, there's only one timeline, it all collapses back.
Yes, and we saw that in the first movie.
Through magic.
We saw that in the first movie. We returned to the alternate 1985 that he created by changing his parents' history.
Right.
There wasn't another Marty living.
Right.
I mean, we saw the one go
So
back,
it
but there
wasn't
wasn't
branching.
another.
It's not both. It's one. It gets changed, and then you bring it back into some sort of equilibrium.
Which, like magic or not, is still the best way to handle time in
awesome.
a movie. Yeah, it's the
it's
only
all-
time travel
it's great.
movie.
It's absolutely great.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I still don't buy that shit. I think that there's multiple timelines. He's going between all of them. And
No, because it
We have- we
doesn't
have
matter
to
the
deal with
perspective when time
there's
changes. Like,
infinite timelines. That's just how it has to be.
No. See, I see. I'm down with what Justin's saying. Is like what it is that there exists possible parallel universe all happening simultaneously. And what happened was, it's not that the world changed; it's that Marty found himself on a different track.
Navigating
Yeah,
through.
and now he's in this other world, and
But
he
that's-
did
but that's
himself a
not-
service by fucking shit up back, and he found himself on a better track. But meanwhile, that track keeps on going. That parallel just keeps
He
on
left
existing.
his girlfriend in a bad universe.
That's
Is that
right.
like sliders or?
Kind of.
So how does this explain that George doesn't mind that Marty looks exactly like the guy that Lorraine went out with for a little bit? And,
drugs, he doesn't.
Oh,
remember.
dude,
and
that shit is fucked
this
up.
guy that almost raped her is now just cleaning their car.
That's the part that did. Even just the first movie by itself, like, oh, Biff, remember when you tried to rape my wife?
Yeah.
You give two coat wax on that car.
He did a lot of acid in the 60s. And how do we change?
I think both of those things are
it's like
perfectly
it's almost like
acceptable.
he's
I've
a
totally
different.
run into people from high school that I don't at
Oh,
all.
true. But
Yeah.
it's almost like he's a different guy, which in the second and third ones you kind of got the feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, the Crispin Glover kid.
Oh, yeah, no, oh, yeah. The
Which
fact
they could explain in Back to the Future 4.
he's talking about the
The
fact that
retcon.
Crispin Glover's wasn't in either of the other
I'll
ones.
tell you what, I would not Like, I love the Back to the Future trilogy. I love all three of them. But would not mind in the right hands, a new Back to the Future movie with different people.
Well, I want them to do one where, like, in an alternate timeline, he looks like Eric Stoltz.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I mean, like how wouldn't it be awesome to have a travel movie where it's like to me, if they remade Back to the Future, it would just be, let's do a movie where theoretically, if it's in the right hands, the lesson you would take original is, let's have a super fun movie that takes time travel seriously.
With a DeLorean.
Yes.
It has to be the DeLorean, because you got to sell toys.
No,
Dude.
you know they'd license it to She and they'd get like a Camaro or something.
Yeah, it's got to be something that's in production.
Yeah, it will not be a DeLorean for sure. Because the whole point of it being a DeLorean to begin with is that you use the shit hot car of the moment, iconically
Well, they
80s.
stopped making those in '82.
Yeah.
They were
Wait,
still
in
cool.
'82?
Yeah.
Yeah,
First
I think
movie
they were
was
out of
85,
production.
right? One suitcase full of cocaine and your whole enterprise falls apart.
Although, if they did remake it, what country do you think that the Libyans would be from now?
Libya.
They're still Libyan.
Fuck yeah.
Indian nationals.
Especially, have any of you guys ever seen a DeLorean in the wild?
I've been in one.
Yeah.
No
I
shit.
have a friend that lived in Boston and had one. Then he moved to Houston. But we went for a ride in his DeLorean, and everybody's head was turning. It was
Of course.
amazing. We stopped at a red light outside of a 7-Eleven, and the people there just, open the doors, open the doors. So I looked
Now,
over, I was like, yeah, open it.
was your?
Oh my god!
So yours was the one you were in was a gull-wing door, right? But
Yeah.
but like the majority of actually don't. Actually, the majority of them had side open doors.
No, they were all gull wings.
No, they weren't. Because I wanted to buy a DeLorean, obviously researched it. There you go, fix that shit.
Did you play like the Huey Lewis soundtrack?
No. Like there were used DeLoreans. There were used DeLoreans as cheap as like $5,000 if you didn't want the gull-wing doors. You could find them. But then
We went to
don't
a
have
Chinese
the wing
restaurant,
door.
parked it outside, and walk out to the car. There's people looking in the windows. And we actually ran over Chibi Moon. That was one of the first Chibi Project experiments.
no kidding.
So,
That's awesome.
What was the price discrepancy if you did want going doors?
Oh, it was like major.
You can go to
like that was the
DeLorean.com
biggest.
and
That was the
get
biggest
one.
thing. The problem, the biggest problem with them. Number one, they were poorly constructed vehicles that had a tendency to need a lot of work, and replacement parts were extraordinarily expensive because of the limited production that they had. But looking into it, like you could find people who had DeLoreans that were in really good conditions with the regular doors for like $5,000 to $10,000. The gull-wing doors in the same condition, it was like $15,000 to $20,000.
Wow.
When I was looking at them.
you can go to DeLorean.com and actually order one with all the parts.
No way.
And you can order the speedometer that goes up to 85 or the one that goes to 120. I mean, why would you want
to at least go to 88?
Yeah, why would you get the really?
See, these bastards can do 90.
One of the problems that my friend had with his is the rollover switch. If the car rolls over, it's supposed to pop out, so it cuts off the fuel. It would just pop out on its own. And so you'd have to kick it to get it back in. And so he said that the joke in Back to the Future, DeLorean's not starting, is a reference to the rollover switch.
So he's trying to
And
kick
Marty
it.
hits his head on the
Oh,
steering
yeah,
wheel
yeah.
and starts back up. And
Wow.
he actually did the same thing. He just bam, 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 and
That's a
it
feature.
starts working.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
There was another time it wouldn't start at my place, and that didn't fix it. So we called AAA, and I'm on the phone, and so what kind of car is it? It's a DeLorean. What make is that DeLorean? What's the model? DeLorean.
DMC.
Do you know the Back to the Future car? Oh, yeah.
That's hilarious.
Let me ask you this: what movie that you liked, like not like something that you thought was like like a movie you like, would you not mind being remade? That you read.
Oh,
tomorrow.
Logan's Run. I would love to see Logan's Run remade.
I got one.
What's that?
Valley Girl.
No. Bueller. Because now that I know that, like, the heartthrob is not interested in my team, I want a new heartthrob. He's a
Well,
viable.
like Ferris Bueller, all casting. Like that would almost have to start actor first. Like you would have to
Yeah.
have somebody to do
Who's
that.
charismatic like that now? You know?
Because that's, I mean, like they're like the Arthur remakes coming out, and like it might be total crap, but it's like
Yeah.
you can see like, all right, now Russell Brand Arthur movies like kind of makes sense, you know. on some basic level, even if the script's balls.
But really, of all the movies, who says,
I don't know.
Let's remake Arthur. I mean,
That's someone's pet project. That wasn't.
Yeah, no.
You're right.
Here's the thing: is that like in Hollywood, it's the idea is even if you have a small brand recognition, it's better than a completely new idea which has no brand recognition.
You know what could work well?
Like a
Short
stupid
Circuit.
Inception movie.
yes.
Because
Yeah.
every
That's a good one.
the thing what you remember is the 95. All the human characters don't really matter.
No,
So
there's Indian guy.
How dare
white
you say
woman.
Steve Gutenberg not matter?
He created Steve Gutenberg Bible. We turned it into Drunk Hulk all of a sudden. Steve Gutenberg Bibles say use sound effects to enforce.
That's a totally good goal, though. Sure,
yeah, and I
you could do
mean
a
with all
crazy
the
short circuit remake.
military drones and everything, it's not out of current events that you would have.
So you have to keep the same vibe.
yeah, you'd
like
have to have
model,
exactly
right?
the same.
No. You'd have to have a totally different one.
No,
No,
he can't
that's
be all.
totally
He can't
different.
be all
You can improve a few
iPhoned
things.
out like.
He can't be the same old
Totally
robot
You can
thing.
improve a few things,
That's
but I think
ridiculous.
overall it has to be the same structure and shape with the treads.
No. I guarantee you, you only see the existing Johnny. We know him in the background of this crazy Indian guy's shop. Like, you see him as a previous generation, you're like, I give you the... Yeah, there's no need to the movie with the same fucking robot.
But he was like part of what made Short Circuit so good was that Johnny Five design was so kind of expressive. With, like,
Yeah,
the big,
you do that.
Well,
For
the
example,
big
did you
guys,
see...
yeah.
Friggin' Zach just blew my mind showing me the Portal 2 co-op teaser. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Those robots were so expressive and different flavor from anything I've seen. That's part of the process of making a movie, is that you have to give your people an opportunity to create something. That's what you're going to want to see. It's like, let's see the reimagined. If you're going to reimagine Short Circuit, you got to reimagine the
Johnny Five.
body of Johnny Five.
Yeah.
Big Adventure. Starring
No.
Paul Rubens. I want another Pee Wee movie.
No. Oh, dude. Okay. First of all, do you remember when we were...
Number one best. I think we were talking about this the other day when we were flying to Texas. Was Pee Wee's Big Adventure best Tim Burton movie ever?
Probably.
Batman was awesome.
I will throw you off. This
Oh my god!
fucking
Into the
balcony.
fire pit with you.
No,
You didn't like Batman?
Why wouldn't you like Batman?
Batman was good, but it wasn't like Batman was like
Oh, dude.
serviceable in a pre-Batman Begins Dark Knight.
Okay,
world.
yeah, but it came out in a pre-Batman Begins
Batman
Dark
is
Knight
like,
world.
Remember like the Darth Vader costume that came out?
No.
Where it was like a crappy... He doesn't even know what Star Wars is, okay? Have you seen Star Wars? Look in the camera and tell them how many of the Star Wars movies you've seen.
3.
Which one?
No, 2.
You've seen two
I've
of
seen
the...
two of the 6.
Okay, look, you're not...
Which
This
one?
is not going to go well on
Can
you.
we throw him off the balcony?
Do
now?
me a favor, stop talking. As your
How many
advisor...
of those people are talking about how good Batman was?
Okay, Your Honor, my client is clearly insane. I hereby request all of them is stricken from the record.
Remember you're a little kid and you want to get like a superhero costume? They used to do like you get like a Spider-Man costume, right?
And it just said his own name across the front.
There's a picture of Spider-Man on there, okay? And then a stupid mask. And you're like, wait, this is what Spider-Man walks around, like Steve-O, with this friggin' thing there, okay? Spider-Man, and that's what it's like, that was the Batman movie. It's a movie about Batman. Yeah, I like that. And then when you see, like, when you get a real Spider-Man costume, or you get a real Darth Vader costume and not a picture of Darth Vader, you're like, oh my god. Nolan gave us a real Batman movie and told us this is how it really would go down.
No, that's retarded.
No.
Having a great new Batman movie doesn't take away from how that movie was in 1989.
Let me...
No,
we
okay.
can't say-
Your Honor!
Yes, sir. I was going to do a fight scene from the original Batman movie. Okay?
Then sit down.
I'm going to fight
Sit
you.
down.
Come
Sit
on.
down. All right, first of all, maybe there's confusion. He's not defending the Adam West Batman from
No,
1960.
The Keaton Batman.
All right, have a seat, because I'm actually on your side
I
on this
can't,
one.
because this costume is just latex, and I can't sit down because there's no mobility in it whatsoever, because I don't know how to choreograph a fight scene, because I'd rather be having a...
You know what? No, that's a stupid argument, one, because it lived in its own time and its own place, and two, that's like saying Citizen Kane is shit because now there are dramatic movies in color.
No, but by the way, fuck you, because, like, Pee-wee's Big Adventure rules today.
It rules today.
So how are you saying that Batman's
was never
better?
a good movie.
Big Adventure?
It was always a fun movie. It was never a good movie.
Oh my god.
No, I'm
Classically
also...
fun.
I'm also, again, with Amtrekker on this one. Having watched the movie repeatedly with my children recently this year, I will agree with Amtrekker again on this one.
So you think Batman, the original Batman, is better than Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
That's something you just made up because you're obviously not listening to Amtrekker. Amtrekker's saying that movies live in their own time.
Brian, answer the question. Do not wait for the translation. Answer the question.
You guys, first of all, I don't even know what that question is. That's the most retarded question anyone's ever asked.
I asked. Pee-wee's Big Adventure
Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Batman. Which do you choose?
I don't know. What is that? I thought we were talking about Batman.
No, we are. It started because I said Big Adventure was.
I'm not going to let you guys derail this because Amtrekker has a good point. He says that movies live in their own time, and he said Pee-wee's Big good for its time, and Batman was good for its time. And you guys loudly pronounced, Pee-wee is awesome now!
No. Actually, Brian, the conversation started because I said Pee-wee's the best Tim Burton movie ever. He said Batman, and then the conversation branched into that area, which is why I'm bringing it back to the original thing. And I asked you if you have on relative worth that think that Pee-wee's Big Adventure is not as good as it was before, and that Batman may not be as good as it was before, but we can defend it in its own time when it was released.
Wow, that was a Schwood. What's the best Tim Burton movie in your opinion?
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Also, you know what I was just thinking? Big Fish. I love that movie.
Dude, Big Fish is fucking great.
That's
And you all just got proved to be retarded.
I said I really like Big Fish. In fact, like, my point was before with like Pee-wee's Big Adventure is that I think Tim Burton is exceptional when he stays out of his crazy gothic nonsense world, which I think, like, really, Nightmare Before Christmas is probably my only exception to that rule, and that is even more so the animation style of the guy whose name I can't remember right now.
Salesman.
Yes.
So how come E.T. was so right for its time? And
has anyone seen E.T. in the last decade?
I haven't seen. I know you guys are
last
like.
year.
What did you think?
Down on
I
E.T.
think the pacing was so much different than what I remembered as a kid. Very much different than what I remembered as a kid.
Yeah.
It certainly was. But also, I think the thing too is like, and that, like, you know, we could talk about things in our time. I think too that like back in 1982, when a strange, we hadn't seen a lot of aliens. Every alien we saw looked really stupid. Didn't look very good, other than like the Star Wars Cantina scene because they showed up very quickly, or Chewbacca who was real. And so I think that was the kind of thing that we now had almost.
Brett, Chewbacca is the big hairy thing.
Right. Yeah, right. He's a Wookiee.
Chewbacca opens the door and says, "The doctor is
like,
not."
and just to make this very clear, Henry Selick directed Nightmare Before Christmas, not Tim Burton.
Yeah.
Okay.
Produced it.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I thought I was asked what was the best Tim Burton movie.
You think
Edward
E.T.
Penis Hands. That was Tim Burton.
You think E.T. was the first sentient experience? The first time we ever met an alien.
Well, other than like Star
In
Wars
movies.
and Chewbacca, I think it was the first time that like an alien in a real world setting that at the time very realistic and like wow, this is cool. So I think there was a lot of that in the special effects, kids floating on bicycles, which now you can watch in a Skittles commercial. That was a big wow. And they came from. I mean, I think so much of it was we hadn't seen in movie making at that time. It was so novel and new, and now it's so passé that it's like, oh, we see that all the time. What's the big deal? I think that's so much the context of this time. Like I watched Close Encounters recently, and that held up. That really held up for me.
I think Close Encounters.
Oh, it definitely holds up. I fucking love that movie.
But I don't think it was like. I guess because they didn't have the special effects, they had to tell this.
What are you talking about? Close Encounters of the Third Kind was fucking cutting edge at its time. But its story transcended the effects. Why it holds up. Now stop talking. I'm sorry.
Have you seen the Super 8 trailer, Brian?
Not the full one. I only saw the teaser.
It came out like 2 days ago. It is Spielberg porn.
I first saw the teaser and I was like, oh great, it's gonna be Cloverfield crap. And then I saw the trailer. It's like, okay.
All right,
I saw the latest one. I have to see this movie.
All right, I have one complaint, and I'll tell anybody privately who wants to know. My only complaint is I already know where the thing is hiding.
Under the porch!
No, I'm sorry. I watched the trailer like, oh, where is it? What is it? I know where. And because it's like the trailer's revealed too much. So I'm like, I was about to tweet out a joke about it. I'm like, no, I don't want to ruin it for people.
Which movie?
Super 8. So I know that sounds very obtuse. I apologize for that. But that was the thing. That was the one thing that looks fantastic. Our friend Larry Fong's a cinematographer on that. Larry did like a knockout job, and it looks amazing. So I can't wait to see it. My thing was just the trailer. Like, oh, too much.
oh shit, you know what? Someone in the chat room, I haven't even seen the trailer. Someone in the chat room just said something that makes a lot of sense, and now I'm gonna watch the trailer and set everything ruined for me.
Where I would go. Maybe they're right. I'll tell you.
That's pretty good.
That's the whole centerpiece of the ostensible Deus Ex Machina of the movie is the camera. But that's not what I'm saying. There's an element. If anybody wants me to, if anybody wants to be my witness, I'll tell you, and then you can come back and go, yes, Andrew's not crazy.
I'm here for this is in the chat room.
I have no idea what this movie is at the moment.
I would ask you to write it down and seal it in an envelope, but I would.
You want to see what they suggest?
No, that's all right.
All right.
I probably won't watch it as a scary show.
I will take one for the team.
I like watching scary shows.
Did you watch the trailer?
I have not.
What time is it?
It's like morning.
All right.
It's dark out. That's why you.
It's kind of at least.
Good night, Bonnie, invisible wife.
Suddenly visible.
Yeah. Not so invisible.
Visible producer. Visible wife.
Yes! There we go.
Dude, awesome production, Miss Bonnie. That was awesome.
Thank you. It's fun. Eileen was helping me from the. She's like suggesting parties.
That's awesome. I think I might graduate to a real chair.
Congratulations, Amtrekker. You're a real boy.
All grown up.
Sucks that you had to sleep at the airport.
Oh, it happens. It's not the first time. I really wish I knew how many days of my life I've spent sleeping in the Denver airport, because it has to be upwards of like 14 days now.
No
You
shit.
should really leave the airport sometime and check out Denver.
I would if it were like anywhere near Denver, but
Yeah.
there's no easy way to
Dan's heard my.
It sounds logical.
All right, that's all we need to do.
I like the chat room's version.
Chat room's like what?
What did chat room say?
I don't want to know.
Yeah, I'm completely ignorant of food
Has
right
Ollie
now. If
had
I
a
see
chance
it,
on
I kind
camera?
of will. Surprised.
What's that?
Ollie, come here, Ollie. Look at Ollie's hair.
Unfortunately, he's all black.
Oh, that's inappropriate.
You can see him at all, is what I'm trying to say.
Somebody got a flash we can do it? Or,
Yeah, here.
up to the light.
Give me Ollie. He looks awesome.
Ollie, come here.
You can do. Yeah.
Check out Ollie's
Ollie's like, what's up?
Ollie.
Yeah!
Look at the dew. Look at the dew.
He's got a crazy mohawk.
All right.
I want to hear your theory.
Oh, you want to hear it?
Sure.
You've seen the trailer and the posters and stuff?
You guys don't even know the plot. How do you have a theory about the guy?
Well, the plot's fairly explained in the trailer.
Mm.
I'm sure.
All right,
Andrew's
tell
right.
them. Tell them.
Okay, what he told me kind of makes perfect sense after, because I've seen the teasers, I've seen several of the posters, and yeah, it makes.
I hope it's a minor. I hope it's just like a thing we find out.
I'm
early
hoping.
on.
Part of me hopes like it's completely misdirection because it would.
Yeah.
That's kind of a J.J. Abrams thing.
Yes,
now,
it is. It is.
You know, but it's already performed.
No, I'm saying if I show you two things, and that if you see it, if you're not trying to find a connection, the connection happens in front of you. You're like, oh, I don't want to know more than I know. I will try not to watch trailers because I like to just enjoy a movie.
You are a very, very perceptive guy.
My point is,
I'm just saying.
I wasn't trying to.
I'm just too smart.
Why don't you check it out, asshole?
Listen. When I get to hang out with you all day, you tend to feel that way.
I wouldn't doubt it. I'm pretty fucking dumb.
He is not. He is not at all. He's not at all. Sometimes symbolism stands out more than it should. This looks like a skull to me, like teeth and eyes. I think it's telling me something.
You're all gonna die.
Kiss the fire. Brian, It's got his little joke.
How many people are watching?
So, just Bonnie upstairs.
Yeah, right.
Bonnie and DDT, apparently.
I don't know, somewhere between 70 and 80. We were at 100. Of course, it's getting later and later. But a whole bunch of people are all saying in the chat room, you can find it on my web zone.
Ask for that.
I did not ask for that.
But I have foreseen it.
Only I can do that.
Come to my web zone.
What about that? It's right here. You can find it on my website. www.media.com.
Is it starting to rain?
No.
Holy shit, it is. It's definitely raining on us as we sit at the open campfire in my backyard.
The thing to the thing.
On our web zone. Alright, I'm gonna shut off. Here, say goodnight to the fire.
Die the fire.
Die!
Rock. See the skull? See the eyes and the mouth?
Controls fire.
That's right.
Man, show them the skulls. They're crazy.
Hold on, where's the skull? Hold on, let me.
Showing them the skulls.
Where's the skull?
If you come here, if you come here, there's the teeth. There's the eyes. It's kind of like a Ben Grimm. You guys see the face?
Oh
of the eye?
shit,
All
I
right,
do.
All right, you see the
That's
face
a
of the
grinning Ben Grimm fucking skull. You've been staring at the time and you're still sane?
As much as I started off.
It's clobbering time for your sanity. Alright. Good night, Child Realm. Sleep tight, princes. And princesses. We love you.
Oh, the dog.
Did you just hit my dog? Motherfucker.
No, because I couldn't find a cave.
Alright. Good night, Chat Realm. Everybody say good